Okay, we're working in our math journals again today, and we've already covered a few things. Let's go ahead and look in our table of contents. Looks like so far we've talked about place value, we've talked about word form, and we've practiced that a little bit. Today we're going to work on some vocabulary a little bit. So we're going to talk about place value vocabulary. So place value. Look there, I misspelled place right there. Vocabulary, so V-O-C-A-B, kind of abbreviating that. And we're going to go ahead and put that onto page 5 in our journal. So go ahead, you should still have 2 open pages right there. We have the 3.2a, the Texas Education Agency code for what we're learning right now. We have a little page right here that kind of marks where we're talking about whole numbers. There, it's place value right here. Okay, we've already talked about word form, and we practiced word form a little bit right here. And today, so this should have been marked page 6 right here. And we're going to put our information on page 5, and we're going to do place value vocabulary. And abbreviated there, place value vocabulary. And the page that you have are all right there in that one file. It's these 2 pages right here. And on the first page right here, it has the definitions. And the instructions on how to do this is on the definitions, you just cut it along the outside of it. So I'm going to cut it like this. Basically cut. And we're not going to cut each one of these little definitions apart. And that could be a fun activity if you wanted to make a matching activity. You could go ahead and print it again and cut each block apart. Then you cut each one of these blocks apart, and then you could have a little matching game. You could do that as a center. So that's probably something we will do as a center if you have the opportunity or the capability of printing. So before I glue that in, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out. So I'm going to cut all these on all the dotted lines. And cut along the outside again. And basically what this is going to create is a little flip book. And like I said, if you don't have printing capabilities, that is perfectly okay. You can either write the definition down on this page, just write the vocabulary down, and then write the definitions out. Would be pretty decent practice. Or you could just go ahead and produce this yourself. Get your 2 pieces of paper and cut them out to where they'll fit in your composition book, and go ahead and create these little tabs. Okay, like I said, we're going to cover all the same things virtually that the students are covering in class. And that way later on down the road, if you end up at in-person classes, you will have all this same information that the students have in class, because this is the same exact thing we're doing in class today. Okay, and the last cut. Like I said, this would make a good center activity also. If you wanted to cut each one of these apart and make a matching game out of it, that would be good. And you would have this as a little key to an answer key to see if you got it right. So, take Andrew Hall's glue. He was my student last year. And put a little dot in each corner. Remember, we don't want to use too much glue. Put a little bit in the center there. So this page we're gluing down all the way. and I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to glue it upside down. Glue it right in here. Okay, and then the instructions right here tells us to glue right here. So we're going to put some glue right down the center there. Not a lot. We don't need a whole lot. Because if you use too much glue, it ends up squirting out the sides and gluing your pages together. Here we go. Okay, and we'll talk about these a little bit. Let me get... Okay, I moved it up a little bit closer to where you can see a little bit better. Okay, so the first tab right here we have composed numbers, and underneath that it says to combine parts of smaller values to form a number. So we do that with base 10 blocks. You would have did that last year. If you had a flat and a unit that would represent 11, you're putting together 10 and 1 to make 11. Okay, and we have place value. We already talked about place value a little bit. Okay, and it says the value of a digit as determined by its location in a number such as ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, etc. Okay, expanded form, that's something you worked with last year. That's basically, well, I'll read what it says. It says, okay, the representation of a number as a sum of place values, i.e., so 1,178 is 1,000 plus 100 plus 80 plus 7. I said that, I said 78, 87. Okay, period. That might be a new term. Okay, period. We'll read what it says. I don't think you probably talked about periods too much last year. Okay. Okay, a 3-digit group of whole numbers where each group is composed of one place, a tens place, a hundreds place, and each group is separated by a comma. So basically what that means is the numbers between, we use commas to represent numbers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we start building place value charts. Okay, comparing numbers, that's something you're familiar with. You did that last year. It's where you to consider the value of two numbers to determine which number is greater or less if the numbers are equal. Okay, whole numbers. Okay, the set of counting numbers and zero. So it's everything from later on we're going to talk about fractions. And fractions are not whole numbers. So like 1/2 is not a whole number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up infinitely are all our whole numbers. Okay, decompose. We already mentioned about decomposing numbers. It says to break apart numbers into parts or smaller values. Okay, standard form. Standard form, we talked about that already. That's how we normally write numbers. Okay, the representation of a number using digits, i.e. 1,200. Okay, word form, we already talked about that. It's a representation of numbers using written words. So 1,153 as 1,153 in words. Okay, open number line. Okay, we're going to talk about open number lines. Okay, I'll just kind of abbreviate that. Sometimes we'll just we'll make number lines, and we might necessarily put the values of all the digits. Okay. That's my story. That was Miss Jackson. She just called, and there was a bat in the foyer we had to rescue. But we'll go back to the open number line. I think we said that we're going to use open number line when we're practicing rounding. That's going to be one of the first ways we introduce rounding to you. Order numbers. That's when we put them in. We can either order them. Well, I'll read what it says. To arrange a set of numbers based on their numerical value. So you'll either order from greatest to least or least to greatest. And expanded notation, that's the new thing that we talked about, or we're going to talk about. Okay, and it's a representation of as numbers as sums of place values where each term is shown as a digit times its place value. So that's a very good definition of it. And we're going to cover that later, and we're going to do some examples of that later on this week or next week. So. Like I said, if you don't print this out, it's okay. You can either reproduce it with a couple pieces of paper if you like, You could just write the definitions down if you like. Make an extra one. Maybe use it as a matching activity. And I think that'd be really cool if you had an opportunity to do that. And well, I might even assign that as a center later on this week. So y'all have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye.